evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Inside the Pigskin, our football show that gives you everything you need to know. And with that said, I want to welcome the newest member of our team. His name is Bradley Walker from my alma mater, the University of South Florida. Brad, why don't you give everybody an overview about what you're doing at USF and just an overview of yourself in general?
Yeah, for USF, I have covered their football program for the last 8 years. I've covered their softball, lacrosse, and baseball team the last 3. So again, it's just been kind of cool to see what's going on campus at USF. Obviously, if you don't know, the football team is getting their own on-campus stadium, 2027, and I'm starting to see the build as we speak of them getting that done. To open the new stadium in 2027. I've been with NGSC Sports for the last 4 or 5 years. Just last year, I became a partner. There's 3 of us that run the website together. I also write, too, just recently, I expanded out to the University of Tampa, which is a Division II baseball team, but they're back-to-back national champions. So, yeah, they're doing something right in Tampa. They're doing something right in the city of Tampa. So, yep, that's me. In a nutshell.
Well, meanwhile, I got somebody from my alma mater, Marvin. Okay, on this show, Marvin. After all, I know you like to kick around Mel when he's against your rival. I can't kick around Brad because he's one of me, although a nicer version of it. Okay, and he's an up and comer in the business, and now he has an opportunity on the network's biggest show to show what he can do, and I'm excited about adding Brad. We've talked about bringing him on. It's just a matter of finding the right fit for him. I'm confident every Tuesday night he definitely is that. And I want to welcome back Tommy Shanahan, obviously my partner in crime. He goes with me wherever I go, and the master of college football. Glad to have you back, Tommy.
Glad to be here.
And Marvin Powell, the third, is going to be carrying a rock a lot today, Paul, but he's been ready for it. He's been saying, Coach, I'm ready for this, right, Marvin?
Absolutely. Thankful to be here this evening.
Yeah, I always love having you on, Marvin. You're a big part of this show, and I'm so proud to have you on our team. Okay, Marvin? All right, he's wearing the right headgear, and I gave him some cards. Hopefully you handed a few of them cards out, Marvin, so when you get in the book the next time, they'll at least know where to get the first one, right, Marvin? Let's get a little bit of a startup kid out there. He's good stuff, though. He's been a great contributor to what we've done. And last but not least, the Candy Woman.
Great to be here talking football with you fine gentlemen.
Yeah, we got a busy agenda. Let's get right to it because there is a lot. So let's go back to the NFL. Let's start with the NFL. Should NFL games be able to end in a tie? I know that you have overtime which eliminates them, but let's just talk about the topic in general. Tom, what do you think? Should they be able to end in a tie?
What would be the point? No, they would. There's no reason to have games that did a tie.
There's what?
There's no reason for it. Why would you want to go back to the old rule?
Right, exactly. But there's questions that are out there. There are poll questions, and yeah, I agree. I don't like going back to the old rule. I remember all these 7, 6, and 1s.
I don't even like them ending in a tie as it is. It's really hard for a game to end in a tie, but they should have a winner or a loser.
Okay, fair enough. What do you think, Brad?
No, I agree with Tom. And then the thing about ties, then it also, when it comes time for the playoffs, it screws up records. It screws up how they get seated if there's a tie. So, no, I think that there should be an overall winner. They do it in hockey, too. There's no ties in hockey anymore. So, yeah, there should not be any ties in pro football.
And Marvin?
Yeah, so in football, you got to look at it a little bit differently. We've already acknowledged, that it's a game not meant for human beings, meaning that the human body wasn't meant to play football. Humans weren't made for that. The collisions, the injuries, and, playoffs in Super Bowl is something different. But the reality is, granted, these guys work hard preparing for the season. You commit so much to it. Each game matters so much, that you want to have a winner and a loser. But the reality is, in a regular season game, you have to think about health. You have to think about injury. And it's just, I would have to think that's the biggest reason why they don't want to see games. Like, I saw a Yankee game go 20 innings this year. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't do that in football. You can't put that on the human body. Those guys, they're not conditioned for that. That's just too much. After every game, half the teams in a cold tub getting massaged down, taking whatever pills, getting shot up again just for the pain. I mean, it's so much in the body. So in football, you have to look at it differently. And having a situation where the game must end in the regular season, that makes sense to me. I get that, especially from the perspective of a blocking NFL fullback. That's what I did. After all my games, my shoulders and my necks were sore. My neck was sore, college and pro. So imagine going, 7 or in 5 quarters, and then you go in 6, and it's just too much time, man. So yeah, I'm for games ending in ties if the game is too long, 100%.
See, Marvin, let me just say this, and I'll turn over to Candy last. You make a really interesting point. Item number one, having played the game like you did, okay, hot tubs, ice tubs, health. That's why this question isn't as far fetched as most people out there might think, because, like you said, the body just isn't able to take as much, and that's where I can see the other side. And you went out there and explicitly made that point. Now, yes, you always want to see a winner or a loser, but again, it's just one of those type of things where, indeed, you just look at it. It's not the worst thing that can ever happen, even though I understand Brad and Tommy's point of view. But having played a game, you ought to know how many times you sat in that hot tub and in the trainer's room. I get your point, Marvin. Well taken. And you know what we call that in regular life? Called bullseye. Bullseye. And you'll be quizzed on that word later in the show, Marvin. Although you should be quizzed on it because you're the one who hit it. Okay, Katie.
So you said it's something that's hard to do, but yet the Packers seem to do it this last season, and it played in their favor when it came down to playoffs because they were in. If you look at the division, Chicago was 11-6, the Packers were 9-7-1, Minnesota and Detroit were both 9-8. So had the Packers lost that game, there would have been a 3-way tie as opposed to the Packers technically beating out the Vikings and the Lions this past year. I get it. I mean, where do you put the cutoff, or how do you do that? You've already played a full game and there's still no clear winner. So on a regular season game, does it matter? Of course it always matters, but does it matter enough that we should change the rules and do play more, play longer? Any way you're going to slice it and dice it, someone's not going to be happy.
Excellent point, Candy. All right, this is can you believe this one? Because can you get this? The New York Giants have never had an African American head coach in their 101-year team history at all. And obviously, the first black quarterback starter they had was in 2017. Marvin, I want to start off with you on this, my friend. Can you believe that the Giants have never had an African American head coach in their first 20? That to me just blows me away.
Well, I don't want to pick on the Giants. I think there are some organizations that would be more concerning that we could talk about. But
right.
With the Maras, I've known guys that played for the Giants, coached for the Giants. I've never heard anything about ownership or just management having issues or having, an individual in power who had issues. I thought that Russell Wilson played for the Giants. I don't know why I felt that he did for some point, but no, he didn't. But so, yeah, I don't think it's really a thing, to be honest with you. I don't think that's a thing. I think you could talk about as a whole, the NFL not hiring African-American coaches in certain organizations. I think there's an issue there. I think there are individuals who just have old school mindsets when it comes to leadership and they don't have a lot of these owners don't have relationships with other African Americans, so they could then take on advice in regards to candidates and stuff like that. I think relationships matter, and I think a lot of those owners live in a bubble, and there aren't too many African Americans in that bubble that they live in. And when it comes to making these kind of decisions or considering people outside of that bubble, I think they just struggle. But again, I don't know if that's a Giants issue. I wouldn't put that on them. I will say that when I was growing up as a kid, granted I'm a USC Trojan, but I used to love Toney Rice. I love Toney Rice, Notre Dame. He was an African-American quarterback. And this is back when you didn't have a ton of black quarterbacks in the NFL. I was a young quarterback, so I looked up to him, But today, it's a different situation. Half the NFL has black quarterbacks. It's not.
Right.
I think that the smarter GMs and the smarter evaluators have moved on past that, to be honest with you, because at the end of the day, what it really comes down to is, are you winning? Because if you're not winning, and you're not winning because you're not picking certain players, then you're just not you're not the caliber of professional that should be in that position making those decisions. That's the bottom line. So, going back to the Giants, Scotty, I don't. It will come. It's going to come. I don't think there's an issue there. I think it's just in their evaluation process, you haven't seen that. So, but again, Jameis Winston, didn't he play for the Giants? Was he? I could have sworn he was on the Giants. Okay, so I'm not losing my mind here.
Russell Wilson played for him too, so you're all right there.
So I didn't. Yeah, I thought I was fuzzy there, but
no, you're okay. Let me just interrupt you for 1 second, if it's okay, real quick.
Yeah.
This is not a Giants issue. Keep in mind, Marvin, the one thing I try to instill in you as a coach here is this is in journalism. There's a certain thing called facts, FACTS. Okay, and the fact is they haven't had an African American head coach in 101 years. I'm not saying it's a Giants issue. I mean, who you wind up hiring is who you end up hiring, because they're still complying with the Rooney Rule that you're bringing in minority candidates. It's just who you land is who you land. So I just want to make sure this is very, very abundantly clear that what you're saying is right. It's probably not true. It's just a fact that in 101 years, they haven't had an African-American head coach, period. Yeah, and I want nobody else to read into it any more than that. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, but when you think about it again, there was a period of time in the NFL where they weren't going to bring in black head coaches. That's just what it is. Right. So you figure probably 3/4 of that timeline is that period. And now that we've kind of, I think, moved on past that, there are issues that I'll bring up, but I'm not, because that's, to me, that's not a thing. That's coming. And like I said, I only emphasize the Giants because you put the Giants into question. But it's coming at some point, I believe.
Well, I didn't put them into question. I just know that from my sources, the fact they haven't had one in 101 years, and that's all I'm going to say. But yeah, keep in mind, you do make an interesting point, though. There weren't many African American head coaches until probably the 1970s and 80s. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of roll with you on that one, okay? 70s and 80s, and then all of a sudden it started to pick up. It's really what it did, because I think the biggest thing that should have ever happened, but it never did because of timing, was if there's ever a man who deserved to be a head coach in the NFL, his name was Mean Joe Green. Because this guy worked under Don Shula and Chuck Noll, but again, that'll be for another time. But I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just, again, Marvin, you know me, I'm a hardcore journalist, 101 fact, and that's all I put out there. But again, there weren't many African American head coaches coming on board till the 70s and 80s and the 90s. So you're right. Maybe there's only a 23-year window in that 101 that allows you to get past the 60 and 70. And now I'm pretending like I know math, which I don't. So let's not go there. I know anything about math, because Candy, Dad was a math teacher, and everybody wonders how I would have done in his class. I probably would have failed it, but at least I got her anyway. So let's go ahead.
No, I was saying, when you said head coach, I don't know why I tied in the quarterback to that. I don't know why I went straight to their quarterback. But yeah, again, with the Giants, I mean, I don't think there's an issue there. I think that situation is coming in time.
There's no issue. I'm just stating a fact. That's all I'm saying. There's no issue. I want to point this out there. There's no
the bigger
issue.
Well, I would say that, I think you bring it up because the bigger issue this hiring offseason and then the last hiring cycle was just that, there were 9 positions available and none of these NFL teams took a black head coach, which is odd, just considering that 75% of the league is black. You have a lot of black assistants. So the Giants, have to tie into that, in that way. I get the question as it pertains to the last hiring cycle. So, well,
that didn't help too. I give you that one. But I should also point out that, mind you, as far as the quarterback, it's just a QB starter. Doesn't mean you didn't have a African-American quarterback on the team. It's just starter, and that's it. So we're just breaking down the facts. I knew you were going to have a bigger opinion on this one, which is precisely why I started with you first, Marvin. But you know what? I'll give you this much, Marvin. You handled it extremely well, and I'll leave it at that. I'll turn it around to the panel. All right. Good evening, girl. Hello to you as well. This guy is great stuff. All right. So, all right, Tommy, you like to talk about African Americans as well with the Duffy Dory and all that. What are your thoughts about the Giants and how long it's been?
Yeah, well, like Marvin said, when you think of the Mara family, you don't think of racial attitudes. But
right,
let's remember, 4 years ago, 22. Brian Flores thought he had an interview with the Giants.
Right.
Bill Belichick sends him a text. Congratulations, you got the job. And Brian Flores says, I haven't even interviewed yet. What are you talking about? Turned out that Bill Belichick knew that Brian Daboll had gotten the job from Buffalo. So, in other words, the interview that Brian Flores was going to have was a sham interview, which is very common. It has been in the NFL ever since they hired their first black coach, Art Shell. So, and then that's the other thing. Let's remember this: Brian Flores filed a lawsuit, and that's still moving forward. There are a lot of guys that would have liked to have filed a lawsuit. They didn't have the evidence that Brian Flores has.
Right.
And they also knew that if they did file a lawsuit, they essentially would be ending their coaching career. They would never get another chance in the NFL. Brian Flores is in such a strong position. Who was he with? Was he with the Vikings last year as a defensive coordinator?
Yes.
So, his reputation is solid. I don't know where that lawsuit stands, but it's pretty. Seems like he's got to win that case. And then, it just goes back to, like Marvin said, these owners are all in a bubble. They all live at the top of society. They don't know any black people. All the cocktail parties they go to are all white people. When I wrote Ray of Light, I devoted a whole chapter to how Jimmy Ray and Sherman Lewis, for that matter, too, never got a chance to be a head coach. And I talked to a guy named David Cornwell. I don't know if you know David, Marvin.
The name sounds very familiar.
Yeah. He's been involved with the NFL and black coaches for a long time. And one of the things he did when he was working for the NFL is he had a symposium where the owners could meet black candidates, guys that were worthy candidates to be a head coach, because they weren't going to interact with these guys in any other forum. And the NFL ran it for like 2-3 years, and then they discontinued it for no reason. Certainly isn't. They don't have enough money. So, it's a shame. And again, you don't think of the Mara family that way, but they've got one of the worst examples in recent history where they just were going to have a sham interview for Brian Flores, and they got busted.
Well, listen. Also, don't forget. I think the owner, I don't know if it was Tish or Mara, got named in the Epstein file, so they was down there partying with Diddy. So I don't think if they go into Diddy parties on Epstein Island, I think they're pretty open-minded people. I don't know. I'm just saying.
That was loaded, Marvin. I hit this guy with a Charlie Kirk, and now he hits me with an Epstein file. That was good.
Yeah.
I got to give Marvin credit. And I put him on the Sports Exchange one day, and then I hit him with Charlie Kirk. And he says, "Coach, is this one of those shows that we can go out there and say what we want?" Because I kind of like it. Of course, now he's only on this show because obviously he's back to football. But I got to give him credit. He did hold into the Sports Exchange. Wow. And his introduction, Brad, got was Charlie Kirk, and now he throws a curveball at me with the Epstein file. No worries, Brad. Get used to working with Paul. He's an interesting, cool character. All right, Brad, what's your take on all this?
Honestly, it's a shame. I know I wrote an article about sexism in sports, but I still think in a way that there is some racism still in the NFL coaching, product and stuff like that. It shouldn't matter a person's race or their religion. If they can get the job done and coach and win, it shouldn't matter. And that's how I stand on that. And correct me if I'm wrong. And I'm a Patriots fan myself. Weren't they the last team? Or no? Oh, that's right. That was the Red Sox. That were the last team to bring a African American player to Boston. But yeah, I mean, it should be. It shouldn't matter, and hopefully, like Marvin said, it's gonna sooner or later. This will be over, and they won't have this factual that they have been been around for 101 years and haven't had a African American coach in New York.
All right, Candy.
So, talking about it's actually a third of the NFL have not had a full-time head coach that was black. Setting aside interim hires, the Commanders, the Bills, the Cowboys, the Giants, the Jaguars, Panthers, Rams, Ravens, Saints, Seahawks, and Titans all haven't had a black head coach.
All right. That's interesting.
To add to it, over 25 seasons from 2000 to 2024, 31 of 173 new NFL coaches, only 18% were black. In that same span, 8 of the 19 head coaches, 42% fired after their first full season were black.
So I think one of the things that's going to impact those numbers is the Deion Sanders effect. I think coaches, I think owners are now realizing that we don't have to take coaches through this traditional route of, starting as, the bottom person on the coaching staff and then moving through being a coordinator. There's leadership at, special teams, those coaches. There's leadership in position coaches, and I think when you get a guy who's been around enough structure and understands, how a coaching staff is supposed to operate and understands leadership, I think it's realistic. And, I think if that person's a former player, that gives them even added perspective. But I think we're going to start seeing a different process. And I think we've already seen it. I think Deion has a lot to do with that. No matter what you say about whether you like him or not, whatever it may be, he's had impact at Colorado, no doubt about it, especially earlier on when you had a quarterback. So, yeah, I think that's going to change, man. I think in the name of business and just winning and just full accountability in a world where people understand analytics and people are watching everything, I think you're going to see some of these owners really evolve quickly. It wasn't represented in the last hiring cycle, obviously. That was egregious. But, I believe that, change is coming. I'm one of them type of people. So, yeah, this is going to move forward in the right way,
Well, we have to bring these things to the forefront, and that's exactly what we're doing tonight on Inside the Pigskin. All right, let's go to the Green Bay Packers, because you know what? They're going to enter the 2028 season with a Super Bowl window that could be shorter than we think. Jordan Love has a cap hit of $75.8 million remaining. The dead cap money is $62.3. Micah Parsons' cap hit is $42.3 million, $73.8 million in 2029, and the remaining dead cap will be $80.9 million. Green Bay actually hired former Cardinals head coach Jonathan Gannon as their defensive coordinator. So, Tommy, let's talk about the Green Bay Packers a little bit. They better get it right in the next couple of years, because it could get ugly, Tommy.
Well, I can't break down the roster completely man by man, but from what I understand, they still have a basically young roster. They still have Jordan Love. Jordan Love could still prove to be a franchise quarterback. He's still developing. So I don't think it's I think it's too early to slap that label on them.
Okay, fair enough. Brad?
I agree with Tom. My girlfriend's a Packers fan, so I get all the Packers lore. But I agree. I think Jordan Love is still a capable quarterback, and I mean, yeah, I know they had a bad second half against the Bears in the playoffs, and the rest is history. But I don't know if the window's quite closing as fast as people may think it is. They're still one of the top teams in the NFC North. So, yeah, I don't think the window's closing that fast for the Packers.
Well, there's still 2 years to go. I'm not saying it's closed today. I said there's 2 years to go. We don't know what's going to happen in 2 years to go. Everybody knows, Marvin, the NFL contracts are only good as they're basically essentially 1 year contracts with a bloated number is what they are. I'll let you pick it up from there, Marvin.
Yeah, historically, at least in the last 30 years, you feel like the Packers have done a really good job in drafting, bringing in free agents, signing, undrafted free agents. They're one of those teams. And they definitely have hit on the quarterback in the last 30 years between Favre. I mean, this is an organization that's gone from Favre to Rodgers to Jordan Love. And Jordan Love, is number 3 on that list, and he's one of the best in the NFL. And the reality is, in the NFL, as long as you have a healthy quarterback, you're going to have a chance to win a game. At the end of the day, you want to have a balanced roster. So depending upon what positions you're paying, in this case, they're paying Parsons, they're paying the quarterback, they got some other guys. That it does hurt because you're not going to be able to have balance like you want to on offense, on defense, and special teams. But again, they draft well, they develop well. I think Matt LaFleur has proven himself as a young, competitive, good young head coach. I wouldn't say that their window's closing at all. As long as they have that head coach quarterback combination and they have the right guys drafting and the right guys signing free agents, they're going to be in there. You know what I mean? So I think Packers, if I'm a Packer fan, and I spent some time with the Packers and I got love for them for sure. But if I'm a Packer fan, I'm optimistic about the future.
All right, Mrs. Packer. Go ahead, Candy.
Hey, what can I say? I mean, my Packers have drafted well. They know how to develop quarterbacks, whatever you might want to say about it, because they sat Aaron underneath Brett to give him time to then take over the reins. They sat Jordan Love, whether Aaron wanted him drafted or not when they did, that doesn't matter. Every NFL team has to think of their future at some point too. So did the Packers were they smart when they've drafted quarterbacks and gotten the quarterbacks that they have? Yes. Have they drafted well all the time? No, they have not drafted. And every team hits or misses on draft picks. But right now, the Packers are a very young team. They're exciting to watch, and yeah, at times they make mistakes, and that happens. But I don't think their window is closing anytime soon. One of the other things is one of the reasons why the Packers won one of their Super Bowls is because they got Reggie White, a defensive guru. Let's face it, he was a minister of defense. So sometimes signing these big signings and taking care of your defense, they say defense wins championships. In that case, he did, So you have to have a coach, a quarterback, and some key pieces. And, defense does matter. That makes a big difference. So is their window closing? I would say no. Is the rest of their division getting better? Absolutely. I would say that without a doubt. The Lions have been good, a lot better than they have been in the past. The Bears, obviously, last year were how good. Minnesota's fallen off a little bit, but I think the division is good, and I think that's pushing the Packers to become even better.
All right, let's stay with the Packers theme because obviously we know that Rich Versace has stepped away. The 65-year-old joined Green Bay in 2022 after he served an interim stint with the Raiders, but get this, his coaching break didn't last long because he joined the Clemson Tigers. So, Candy, we'll go back to you on this one. Rich Versace, the time came and went. How would you define what he did and what can he do with Clemson?
I would say he did an okay job for the Packers. I wasn't crazy about some of the calls, some of the moves that we made, but he had the job for, he was special teams coordinator back in 2022. And then then 23 to 25, he was assistant head coach and special teams coordinator. Yes, he left. I think it was a mutual thing. And he decided to become Clemson's. I have said numerous times on this show that there are sometimes some coaches are better off in the college ranks and some are better in the NFL. And I think if you really want to take your talent and if you're good at coaching up players of young guys, molding guys, and you want to mold them earlier in their career, then college is the way to go. And maybe that's what he felt. I mean, if you didn't know this, was the running back coach and special teams coach for Clemson back in 94 to 98. So he is going back to his roots, one of his first early stops in his career. So sometimes people like to do that. They want to go back home where they're comfortable. There's a lot of, and he can bring the NIL with the college is a little bit more like the pro game now. So he's been in the pros. He's been numerous stints because he was with the Buccaneers, the Chargers, the Cowboys, the Raiders, and the Packers. So he's had numerous stops. So hopefully he can take I don't know how much I really want him to have success at Clemson because I'm not a Clemson fan, but kudos to him for, going back to the college ranks where he might be able to have more influence on young men.
All right, Marvin, your thoughts about Bisaccia ending in Green Bay, and now he's with Clemson.
Well, for Clemson, it's a steal. Dabo Swinney gets a guy who's a former NFL head coach, a guy who's been throughout the NFL. And when you're recruiting these guys, on top of the NIL that you're going to give them, you want to be able to tell them that they can be developed, for the NFL by an NFL guy. And when you bring in a coach of his caliber, with his resume, that speaks volumes. It really does to these parents and to these kids. They want to be attached to anything NFL. This guy was in Green Bay. I mean, that kind of stuff matters. It surprises me in that, in college, you got to focus on recruiting. And the biggest difference between coaching in the NFL and college is the recruiting. Now, with the NIL, I think the recruiting has evolved a little bit. These guys still do home visits, but I think a lot of the recruiting is, how much you going to pay me? You know what I'm saying? And I think that has impact on the travel and all the burden of being a college recruiter. I'm shocked that a guy his age would want to do that. But then again, age is just a number. I do believe that. You look at a guy like Pete Carroll. If this guy has the energy to go out there and chase 17-year-old kids and stay on the phone calling, kids every single night, then, more power to you. At the end of the day, coming out of Green, I'm surprised he left Green Bay, unless that's just what they're saying, to the media. You don't know what kind of conversations he had with LaFleur at the end of the season, but I'm happy the guy has a job. He better get ready to put some more hours in because college is a little more grueling. And Dabo Swinney definitely just hit a home run with a former NFL veteran coach.
Okay, all right, Brad.
Marvin made a good point. I'm just wondering maybe if he went back because maybe Dabo's on the way out, and maybe this is what they wanted to do, bring in a guy that has NFL experience back to the college level, kind of trying to hit a home run like North Carolina tried to do with Bill Belichick. I don't think that quite worked out as well as they thought it was going to. So this could be that he might have gone back to Clemson, maybe to be the heir apparent to Dabo Swinney if Dabo steps down or he gets fired. Who knows? That might be the reason why he left Green Bay, because maybe he's got a chance to be a head coach, even though it's at the college level instead of the pro level.
That's really interesting. Never heard that before, but now you got me intrigued to see if that does become the end result. That's the point, Brad. I'll have to monitor that situation, and if it comes anywhere close to fruition, you'll have the chance to follow up on it. Okay, Tommy.
Yeah, if he's from Clemson, he's got a background there. They're paying him $1 million. So I don't think there's a lot of mystery to it. I don't know what his chances. I don't know if he's viewed as head coach material, but that would make sense. I think Dabo's still going to coach for a long time, though. I don't think he's ready to retire by any means. But maybe he just felt like maybe he got tired of the Green Bay Winners. I don't know.
Possible. All right. Well, yeah, I'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I heard so many interesting points of view here. Now my mind will be going 9 million directions. Then again, what's new? All right. Well, Detroit Lions president and CEO Rod Wood is retiring. He'll stay on the job probably until the regular season. But Tommy, what are your thoughts about Rod Wood finally stepping aside? He's done a good job handling the business side.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, his role was on the business side, and the Lions don't have financial problems like a lot of the teams do. So I guess it could be a problem in that aspect, but I don't think we have to worry about it talent-wise as far as the organization. They've got their owner. The coaches trust their owners. The owners trust the coaches, and the general manager has made a big difference. So I don't think it's a threat to the on-field performance.
Brad? Yeah, I mean, sometimes you get to a point in life where, and I was just reading in my notes that him and his wife Susan have expressed a desire to spend time with their children and grandchildren.
Right.
You get to that point where it's time to step away. I mean, down here in Tampa, we had a legendary voice, Gene Deckerhoff, who was the play-by-play guy for the Buccaneers, just stepped away. And in his last press conference, he mentioned, I want to spend time with my grandkids and my great-grandkids, so I got to step away now. And maybe, Mr. Wood is doing that, is, hey, I've done this. I've done what I can for the Lions. It's time for me to step down and let my replacement come in here and continue the success that I helped build in Detroit.
And for those individuals that have ever met Gene Deckerhoff, one of the most classiest individuals in the world, I think, Tommy, you probably met him up at NSMA, at least I did, and you just won't find a classier person. And yeah, Wood probably doing the same thing. It's time to step back and spend time with his grandkids. We'll see what direction the Lions go in that area. Marvin?
Yeah, I mean, apparently he had impact within his role, major decisions business-wise in regards to the stadium and just the Thanksgiving game and just kind of keeping certain culture and just trying to enhance the fan experience. Those kind of things matter. I think a position like that is going to have to be filled by somebody who has, is the same visionary, but also understands the traditions. I think Detroit is, in so many ways, it should be easy to get people into the stands, considering how, these guys are, they're winning games. Last year was tough, but it's Detroit, to me. And I admit, I have not spent a lot of time in Detroit, Scott, and I know that's your city, but I don't feel like there's a lot going on. You know what I mean? So you shouldn't have to do much to bring people out, on a Sunday. But, this guy was respected. And I think just from his business acumen, he's someone who they're going to have to find a replacement for. And again, someone who has experience and the respect. But, right now I feel like everything Detroit Lion is moving in the right direction. Again, the season was kind of tough last year, but as a whole, the last 3 or 4 years, I mean, this organization's been red hot, if you will. And you have to think that, what he's been able to do and his impact has impacted that culture and somehow on the field and off. So it's definitely a loss, and they're going to have to figure out a replacement if they haven't already.
I'll give you that much, Marvin. Let's face it, there's no nightlife in Detroit as it is LA and Atlanta. I mean, those are big nightlife areas. But they've done a good job with the downtown area, how they've really rebuilt it after many years down. But I'll give you that. Yeah, I mean, I haven't been there in a while, but when I was there to see the Tigers at Comerica recently, I was impressed with the way they've redeveloped it for sure after the NFL draft. All right, Candy.
Let's face it, Detroit did it right when because they have all their sports teams downtown real close to each other. They have, they had the Joe Louis and they moved to Little Caesars. That's where the basketball plays. Tigers have their downtown right across from Ford Field. But as far as Rod, he focused on the business side of the franchise. He was a key part in $100 million renovation of Ford Field back in 2017. He was involved in the hiring of head coach Dan Campbell and GM Brad Holmes. Prior to the Lions, he spent 30 years in finance and wealth management, and now 11 years so he's been working for 41 years. It's time for him. He wants to spend more time with his family. Kudos to him. If he can do that, he's doing it on his terms when he wants to. Like, I would hope all of us would be able to go out on our terms and say, hey, I want to retire. I want to spend more time, as opposed to my health is forcing me to retire. So kudos to him for seeing that, because it's probably a job he loves. But again, kudos, and I wish him nothing but the best.
Yeah, we'll say on the Lions team, the Lions actually ranked 27th. Actually, in total attendance for the 25-26 regular season at 516,719 over 8 games. Now, with all due respect, you can look at this stat a couple different ways. The stadium Ford Field only holds 65,000. When Buffalo's new place opens up at 60,000, they can be down there. That's not reflective, however, to me, of whether it's a bad NFL town or not. It's just they have a smaller stadium. But nevertheless, the Lions were 516,719. Where we call maybe just a a game over 500 in the total attendance. So with that said, Tommy, what are your thoughts about the Lions and what happened last year?
Yeah, the Lions don't have any problem selling tickets. In fact, I'm surprised that they haven't sold out all their games. I just assumed that's what they've been doing the last 2, 3 years. Even when the Lions were bad, they were always a good attendance team. So
Right.
I don't read any significance into that at all. They're almost filling up the stadium. And it is, there are more reasons to stay home. I don't like to go to games because it's too much to fight the crowd, fight the traffic. It's a long day, and you can see more on TV with the replays. The only games I go to are the ones that I'm working.
Well, hey, listen, nowadays, Tommy, that's the same way I am. Unless I'm working, I just don't go there just to be a fan. I can't stand the behavior in the stand. It's either I'm working or I'm staying home. I'm with you all the way. But Brad, the guy's been covering some games. What are your thoughts about that number?
Yeah, again, I'm surprised. Again, like Tom said, they don't have any problem selling. The team has gotten more popular the last few years. I was reading a stat that last year, the 2025 season, the NFC only played 8 home games compared to the AFC teams playing 9. Maybe you have a lot of those NFC teams going overseas to play international games. I know that cuts down on that. And to me, if you're a season ticket holder, I would be pretty upset if you're paying for 8 home games and only getting 7 because your team is overseas playing. But I understand the game is expanding and they're trying to get the global fans. But that surprises me. I don't think the Lions will be there again with the stadium only sitting 65,000. That could be an issue, but they should have no problem selling out. That team is on the rise, like Candy mentioned earlier. That division is tough to play in, so can't see why that would be a problem for the Lions in the future.
Marvin?
Yeah, Scott, I think you hit it on the head when you gave us that information regarding the size of the stadium. I don't know how big the Lions fan base is. You know, I think a bigger indicator of interest would maybe the TV numbers, just, you know, where they stand with the local TV numbers. I bet those are pretty high. You know, I don't know what kind of weather you had. I know we've had some severe storms, you know, throughout the U.S. in the last 12 months, but I don't look at that as any indicator of like fan interest. I think that people from Detroit in that region are just Lion fans, and you suffered just like us Jet fans. You know what I mean? You guys probably a little bit worse, but you know, it's no, I'm sorry. I think the Lion fans definitely had it worse, you know. But yeah, that doesn't mean a lot to me. The Detroit Lions, you know, in the last couple of years, you know, had a good football product out there, and it was Lions fever. You know, when they had their coordinators, when they had Ben Johnson, and they had Aaron Glenn as their coordinators, and they had Jared Goff, and they made a couple of runs there. So yeah, it doesn't mean too much, man. I think people in Detroit are optimistic because they have a quarterback, they got a coach, and they have a team coming back who can hopefully get healthy.
Pretty good point. You're right. Size of stadiums really comes down to these stadiums are going to come down to 60, 65,000 with a million suites, but that's just the number that's out there. So, but hey, you know, the Lions at the 27th, they're a great football town. Make no bones.
And Scott, with the revenue sharing in the NFL, I mean, all the owners are getting paid regardless. You know what I'm saying? So it doesn't mean that matters, but it don't matter. They're getting paid anyway. So yeah.
So Marvin, how many bullseyes can you hit in one show? Because you just hit 2.
There you go.
Off the candy. Oh, you're welcome.
So, thinking about stadium capacity, the biggest stadium in NFL is MetLife Stadium, Giants-Jets at 82.5, followed by Lambeau at 81,441, Cowboys at 80,000, with the smallest being Soldier Field at 61.5. With that being said, the Packers don't have any. The Packers are sold out going forward, like for I don't know how long, especially season tickets, but they've been sold out for years. I'm a little surprised that with the Lions' success that they've had in the recent past, that they don't have a higher percentage, aren't up there higher, especially considering. And I don't know, maybe if a truest football fan wants to see football out in the elements, but how many people in the dead of winter want to be sitting outside freezing their tush off as opposed to in Ford Field where it's climate controlled. And they're seeing a much better product. So I think that number is only going to increase for the Lions yet going forward. But the other thing is we all have to understand, and I didn't do any research on this, is how much does a seat cost? Like what is it expensive to sit in a seat at the Lions at Ford Field? Because you have to weigh that too, because especially with everything so expensive these days, are they going to pay that to get to sit inside the stadium? Whereas some people really like to watch it on the TV because they get to see replays, they get to see commentary. It depends on how you view the game and how you want to view the game and how much you can afford. Because the average family cannot afford a lot of these NFL games either. So we got to make sure, that might play a role into it too.
That's true. All right, well, Brad talked about overseas, so I'll tell you what, the Atlanta Falcons will be playing in a 2026 regular season game in Madrid, Spain. So, all right, Brad, you started off with this overseas thing. What are your thoughts about the Falcons playing in Madrid, Spain in 2026?
Well, I think it all comes down to the NFL probably, and I could be wrong. I'm still a rookie at this, but I'm assuming they're going to send every team overseas because like I said, they're trying to expand the fan base globally. They see it works in the NBA, and a lot of the NBA players are now from foreign countries as well. And also in hockey, if you look at the Four Nations, you look at the Olympics as well. So they're the NFL, which, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, is the juggernaut in the four major sports. They make the most money of any of the major four.
Yeah.
So they're trying to, again, what do they didn't have games on Christmas Day, but what do? They take eyes away from the NBA, who did have that. Right. So my opinion about Atlanta going over there, every team's got to go over, and now they're going to be over there playing. And they're playing who are they playing against? Say who they're playing against. They haven't announced
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the opponent. All I know is they're playing them.
Okay. Yeah. So I don't mind it. I mean, being that I am close to the Buccaneers, it's a game that Atlanta will have to go overseas and come back. So maybe we'll catch them on the trip back from Spain. But I think it's cool that the fans overseas get a chance to experience American football, as they call it over there.
Great stuff, Brad. All right, Tommy.
Well, all the teams have to go if that's where they're scheduled. I don't know if the Falcons want to go overseas or not. I haven't read the stories about it, but it's all about money. It's about selling jerseys, and it's not surprising.
Okay, fair enough. Marvin?
Yeah, the international series has been super successful with the NFL going abroad. As everyone here has already said, it's obvious that the NFL is trying to push that product. The NFL is Rome. They're Egypt. They're trying to expand their territory. They're trying to get out there and conquer. And, these games are selling out. These games are filling up. They have events all week leading up to these games in these cities. And what you realize, what you're seeing, if you haven't been paying attention, the NFL's brand is big everywhere. Everywhere where they go and invest money, they're turning a profit and it's making sense. So we're going to continue to see this. I think they're just warming us up for the day for the Jacksonville Jaguars to be the first team to probably go over there on a permanent basis. Right. Atlanta, international city. You got a lot of people in Atlanta from all over the world. And, I bet you there are Spaniards here who are cheering for the Falcons and will be when they go to Spain. And this is just part of the NFL's business plan to gain more market share. They could care less about the NBA and the NBA schedule. They're not trying to be friends or be friendly to the NBA schedule. They want the NBA's fans. They want them all. So this is just good business, and the NFL just trying to grow its brand. especially in a day and age where, we're seeing a decline in youth numbers, and you wonder how that's going to, youth numbers in regards to kids playing tackle football. And you wonder just how America is going to be impacted as a fan base. I think football's king, and it will be king for a long time. But because of all the things that we're dealing with in the NFL and the injuries and some of the bad press and everything else, it just makes sense to do what they're doing, pushing this thing overseas. So, yeah, it should be a great game. I think to Brad's question, that the NFL hasn't released a schedule yet, I don't think. So we won't know who they're playing, but they have announced some of the teams who are already going over there. And they've named quite a few, actually, with the Falcons being the most recent, I think.
Yeah, I think they announce a schedule next month, or after the draft. They usually have their big things and they just space them out. All right, Candy, what do you know about this?
2026 NFL season will feature a record-breaking 9 international games across 4 continents, 7 countries, and 8 different stadiums. Melbourne, Australia is going to be the Rams versus the 49ers. Rio de Janeiro, Brazil is going to be Dallas Cowboys. They haven't named their opponent. Munich is going to be the Lions versus they haven't named the opponent. London, the Tottenham is Jacksonville Jaguars versus TBD, and the Commanders versus TBD. London, the Wembley Jaguars versus TBD. Paris, France is going to be the Saints versus TBD. Mexico City, San Francisco 49ers versus TBD. And then, yes, Madrid, Spain, Atlanta Falcons versus TBD. They have not announced the other ones, but it's a record 9 international games, the most in NFL history. The 49ers are playing 2 international games in the same season, a first for that franchise. And they're slated for iconic venues like Melbourne's Cricket Ground and Maracana Stadium. So the NFL is marketing their brand all over to get it's a business, and we sometimes forget that. We think of it as sports and that they're NFL players, but it's a business, and they're trying to grow their brand as big as they possibly can.
And last week on Inside the Picture, we did do a series on international games, and we had a really good viewership then. So if you haven't seen that show, by all means, please check out last week's edition of Inside the Pigskin, and you'll find that we went into more depth on it. For sure. Let's continue on.
Yeah, one more thing.
Yeah,
there must be some kind of a good agreement between the NFL Players Association and the league that they play so many of these games, because I remember when the Padres played at Hawaii, 1996 or so.
Yeah,
and that was kind of new for Major League Baseball to play away from their home park, and they had to find a team that was willing to go over with them. And even though the Cardinals agreed, a lot of the Cardinal players complained about it, having to go to Hawaii. So, I think the NFL league has addressed getting the players to go over there and agree to go over there, or mandating that they go over there, better than maybe in the past.
Great points. Okay, well, guess what? Eagles right tackle Lane Johnson confirmed to ESPN that he will be returning for a 14th season with the club. Tommy, some thoughts about Lane Johnson returning to Philly?
Well, everything I read, that he likes the new offense, the new offensive coordinator Sean Mannion is bringing in, and he thinks that's going to be not only good for him, but the entire offensive line, and in particular the tackles on the edge. So that's if you're excited about the coach, you probably feel a year or two younger.
Brad?
No, I agree, and as we all know too, the offensive line is the most important thing. If you have a quarterback, you got to keep your quarterback upright. And a veteran like him coming back for his 14th year, I can't see why that would be a problem for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Marvin?
Lane Johnson is one of the best to do it, one of the best in his day. No doubt about it. Their entire offense is better with him on the field. That's not a guy that you replace easily at all, no matter. There's only a few of those guys in the NFL, literally. So, that's huge for Jalen Hurts. That's huge for the Philadelphia Eagles. The new offensive coordinator must have definitely inspired him. Some of that you would have to think that part of his decision making was, determining what kind of offense we're going to run and what they're going to do. So that's a big deal. And yeah, if you're an Eagles fan, this is a big day. This is a very big day because again, this will be a first ballot Hall of Famer for sure. And he's a guy who I think still has some gas in the tank.
Candy.
He was selected by the Eagles 4th overall in the 2013 NFL draft. But he has, had 3 Super Bowl appearances, winning 2. He's a 2-time first team All-Pro, 3-time All-Pro, 6-time Pro Bowl selection. Good all-around player. We saw him when we were over at the Super Bowl a couple years ago. Just a good player who's had a really good career, and hey, if I were an Eagles fan, I'd want him protecting.
Listen, you're happy in one spot, no reason to make a change, that's for sure. All right, well, let's go back to Louisiana because they have actually had 7 quarterbacks start in Super Bowl history, and they're only behind California 13, Pennsylvania 9. I'll read off the names: Peyton Manning, Eli Manning, Jake Delhomme, Terry Bradshaw, Doug Williams, Dan Humphries, and David Woodley. Pretty good list, Tommy.
Yeah. Terry Bradshaw is still one of my favorite quarterbacks and also one of probably the least appreciated quarterbacks. You talk about him, he wasn't a very smart player. He had to call his own plays back in those days.
Yeah.
So Bradshaw, he was on a great teams, but winning 4 Super Bowls in 6 years. I don't know why he doesn't get more credit than he does.
Brad?
Yeah, I got to agree with Tom, even though I'm a huge Tom Brady fan. He was the original one, too. Hands down, Bradshaw wore that number before Brady even probably was born. But, yeah, he doesn't get a lot of credit. The one that caught my attention is when I started to get into football more and more growing up. I got to watch Dan Humphries, and fortunately, they were in the Super Bowl against the 49ers, and they got abolished. San Francisco beat them handily in that Super Bowl. But, yeah, all these guys, and I think all of them are great quarterbacks, and it's kind of cool that hopefully maybe one of these days they'll surpass California for the most.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. Marvin?
Yeah, of that list, I played against Peyton Manning and I played with Jake Delhomme. I'm happy Jake's on that list. Great guy. I was with him in New Orleans, and just real humble country boy, loves football. Was so happy for him when I saw him take the Panthers to the Super Bowl. Listen, I follow a lot of high school recruiting. I have for a while, and if Louisiana is a hotbed for talent. It doesn't surprise me that 7 guys came out of Louisiana. I think traditionally when we think about like high school recruiting and the best high school football, the big 3 have been California, Texas, and Florida. Well, you've had a few that have added to that list, and Louisiana has quietly always been there. They're a small state. There's lots to say about the state of Louisiana and just some of their practices, but the truth is they play some serious high school football out there. If you look at any of these elite SEC teams, those teams are loaded with talent from Louisiana, and again, it's not surprising if you know. So that's a cool thing, man, and hopefully that list gets out and people realize that Louisiana's nothing to play with when it comes to high school football.
Candy?
This puts Louisiana 3rd among all states in terms of Super Bowl starting quarterbacks, behind only California with 14 and Pennsylvania with 9. I would not have guessed that. To Marvin's point, like a lot of times we think about football players coming from Florida, but yet for Louisiana to have 7 starting quarterbacks, that's really cool. I mean, obviously I've never played the game, but I've seen, Eli and Peyton and some of these other guys. But it's pretty cool stat to think that would help anybody recruiting in Louisiana that they had that many starting quarterbacks.
See, I'm kind of with Tommy. Terry Bradshaw doesn't get the recognition that he deserves. Had won 4 Super Bowls calling his own plays. But this is a good list. Don't get me wrong. But come on, Marvin, look, give me my due. Okay. Terry Bradshaw, we can call him stupid all you want, but this guy got 4 rings and he had to play. And he coached under Chuck Noll, probably told him he's stupid all day long. But he still ended up getting Chuck Noll 4 rings. All right, go ahead, Marvin. You want to rebuttal?
No, I was just gonna say, well, listen, the guy played with arguably the greatest defense of all time. He played with Franco Harris. He had arguably the best receiver to ever play in this place here, Lynn Swann, out there. So, I mean, listen.
Oh, kid, I knew there was going to be a USC reference. I knew. Come on, Paul. Really? Seriously, really?
Right. These are just facts. These are just facts. That's all. Right. I'm just giving facts. But listen, he got 4 titles. You know, I didn't know he was calling his own plays, but maybe that was common back then. Those coaches were drinking and smoking on the sideline. So, seriously, but it's hard. It's hard for me to look at him and a guy like Brady or Peyton and say they're the same. Again, especially when all you see is Lynn Swann making the craziest catches in the world. Why does he have to make these crazy catches? Because the ball's everywhere, So, and he had one of the best O-line. Okay. He had a great offensive line. He did.
I'll admit to you,
Mike Webster. So, I mean,
I'll admit to you that Bradshaw's accuracy might have been a little off here and there, and that you had to have a little acrobatic behavior. I get that, but still, the man called his own plays and he got his head busted in. All you had to do was look at his dental work. I mean, come on. His dental work was like hockey, Marvin. I know you're a little bit younger than we are, and you can get to the man. Hey, it's a good list anyways. I mean, you played with a couple of them or around them, but get Bradshaw there. Then again, you won't because you got to be biased towards your team. I get it. Just like I'm biased towards you because you're one of my guys. But still, Terry Bradshaw, 4 Super Bowl rings. Dealt with Chuck Noll, or Chuck Noll had to deal with him, depending on who you talk to. It is what it is. And of course now John Stallworth backed up Marvin's point. You had another good one there. So and now Earl also was asking about what about South America playing games? Are they playing games in South America? I don't even know.
Yeah, they played in Brazil.
Oh, did they? Okay, there you go.
Yeah, and I think they're scheduled to play in Mexico, but with the cartel acting up, they better get out of that. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I'm sure. Okay, all right, I wasn't sure. All right, Earl, you got your question answered. All right, good topic. Anyways, it's always good to talk about Louisiana, and for any of those people that realize one of the best pitchers that ever came out of there was a guy by the name of Ron Guidry, who they called Louisiana Lightning. So there you go. That's a baseball reference. All right, let's continue the theme, and we're going to go to one more interesting football topic, and that's this, at least college, and then we're going to go to our featured topic of the night. The 10 college football coaches under the most pressure include Shane Beamer, South Carolina. He has a $19 million buyout. Mike Norvell, FSU, $48.5 million buyout. Luke Vattel of Wisconsin, $19.2 million buyout. Mike Locksley, Maryland, $7 million buyout. Dave Aranda, Baylor, $9 million buyout. Bill O'Brien, Boston College, $18 million buyout. Dabo Sweeney of Clemson, $57 million buyout. Bill Belichick of North Carolina, $10 million buyout. Kalen DeBoer of Alabama, $50 million buyout. And yes, Deion Sanders. Okay, well, that's a big loaded list, Tommy. How many of those guys do you think are going to wind up walking the plank next year?
I'll say Belichick. Belichick and Norvell. I don't think Belichick's much longer for college football. And North Carolina's going to get tired of him and his girlfriend.
Okay. All right, Brad, what about you?
No, I agree with Tom, and you guys were talking earlier about Deion. I think if Mike Norvell gets fired, FSU rolls out the red carpet to bring their boy home back to his alma mater. He played at FSU, and how would he not? What he's done in Colorado with recruiting, he will light it up in Tallahassee. So I can see that happening. Yeah, I would say Belichick is got a very short leash. The other, Bill O'Brien, there's not Boston College is not one of those big, they don't expect a lot out of their football program. And we were talking earlier about Dabo. I think Dabo walks away on his own. I don't think he's going to get fired. So
Okay, that's fair. I like both those answers. All right, Marvel, what you got?
I agree with Brad. There's no way Clemson would let Dabo leave. He's too young, too successful. He held the ship down. He was against NIL and transfer portal, and he still had a respectable level of success, even not even being a part of that. So with that, the guy who I'm looking at is Mike Norvell. Florida State has 7 wins in the last 2 seasons. This is coming off of a 13-win season, 3 years ago. This year, they had one guy go to the NFL Combine, where Bobby Bowden was sending 10 to 15 guys a year in their good years. So you talk about a program that's hit rock bottom and stayed there in back-to-back seasons. I mean, if they had won 6 games and went to a bowl game, that is much different than winning 7 games in 2 years. Much different. And they're rock bottom, and they're not evidently they don't have the talent, as those guys aren't going to NFL. So yeah, it would be Norvell. I'm still a little bullish on my man in Carolina, on Belichick. I think that him and Lombardi are going to figure something out. Mike Lombardi is their GM, for those who don't know, former Raiders executive. But I think Carolina is going to surprise some people, just because I think Belichick is that good of a coach, and I do believe in this guy. I do. I believe in their ability to assess talent and win on 3-star recruits. So. Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked to see Belichick turn around and win 8 games this year. That wouldn't shock me at all, especially in that conference.
All right, Candy.
I'm going to see Norvell, and I'm going to say, because I got to go there, I'm going to say they're going to give Luke Fickell. He's actually got his contract is through 2032. I think they give him the next 2 years, and if he doesn't turn this program around in 2 years, I think he'll be gone in 2 years. They've said that they haven't spent the money that they needed to, and that they're going to do so this year and probably next year. But I would say that Badger fans already want him gone, but the AD has said that they want to spend more money first before they'll think of that.
That's fair.
But
I'll tell you what, I'm going to go with Carolina too, but not North Carolina. How about South Carolina? Shane Beamer, to me, has got to be at a make or break point as well. I think Shane Beamer would be one. Mike Norvell being gone. Marvin, we've talked about this on numerous shows that we talked about, whether we were on Saturday or now. This one certainly is a guy that's a make or break here. And what Brad said makes sense. I could see Deion Sanders actually winding up back at FSU. So I could see a few of those scenarios playing out. I really can. And when I look at this list, Bill O'Brien, I think, is safe in Boston. I'm not so sure how many people would take that Boston College job under the current format. And if he can figure out how to recruit out in Boston, I think Bill O'Brien is better than most people think. But yeah, Mike Norvell and Shane Beamer are the two. And also watch out for Dave Aranda and Baylor. They have high expectations as well. So I think they're either getting a new stadium or they're refurbishing it. So those are the 3 guys I would certainly watch out for.
I'd be shocked if Deion took a job at FSU, only because he's had some real health issues, health concerns that people haven't known about that have come out recently. And I think, at his age, and he's not old. I mean, he has to be in his early 60s, late 50s, if
Right.
that. But still, considering what he's already amassed, what he's already done, I think big picture, he's already proven his point in Colorado. Just in that, the Deion Sanders, effect is a real thing. People come out to see the show. It ain't a great show, but they come out to see the show, and the numbers back that up in regards to enrollment and just the money being poured into the school by their alums. They've shown that. But yeah, I think it's a fantasy that Florida State fans would love to see come true. Deion comes home, but I wouldn't be shocked if he was a guy who said, after his tenure at Colorado, that he's going to focus on faith and family and that whole situation.
Well, he's not here in Colorado, Marvin. I mean, for crying out loud, he's invigorated more energy into that program than anybody has in years. Yeah, so I'm with you, but I think if there's any place he could go, it would be FSU, and Brad pointed out. That would be the most likely place. He's not going to the pros. There's no way he's going to the NFL, for sure. No. But I'm with you. He's done a lot in Colorado, and I think he's going to stay there. All right, well, I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to talk about some more head coaches from the Sean McVay coaching tree You got Zach Taylor of the Bengals, Kevin O'Connell, who's up with the Vikings, Liam Cohen with the Jaguars, Matt LaFleur of the Packers, and Mike LaFleur of the Cardinals. Tommy, some observations about Sean McVay's coaching tree.
let's compare the success of his former assistants to Bill Belichick's former assistants.
Yeah, right.
Head coaches. It is a pretty remarkable list. Those guys have had success. I don't know what the common denominator is if they learn more from McVay than Belichick's assistant coaches learn. It is interesting. I'd like to hear more opinions on what makes for building a coaching tree. But McVay definitely has the results. And let me just add, his grandfather is John McVay.
Okay.
Successful high school coach in Ohio, Massillon, one of the old hotbeds of high school football. Hired by Duffy Doherty at Michigan State. And then he went to, in fact, McVay coached Alan Page in high school and tried to get him to come to Michigan State. Page wanted to go to Michigan State, but he attended a Catholic high school and his parents made him go to Notre Dame. And then McVay was briefly the coach at Dayton University, New York Giants, and then he had success as general manager with the 49ers.
Pat, some thoughts about McVay's coaching tree.
Well, honestly, I think, as everything coaching tree starts at the top, watching Sean go over, he can remember plays from every game. You can ask him a question. He can tell you what exactly the play was and how it came out, what a great memory he has. Obviously, like Tom said, he's able to get these guys to be successful and move on and move up. And that's great. I mean, I know there's been talks that he wants to leave or retire, or the Rams want to get rid, but then all of a sudden he has a great year last year. Matt Stafford has a great year. So yeah, he's got a great coaching tree. I'm curious to see how he continues to, bring these coaches out and, moving forward.
Hey, Marvin.
I don't know what the heck Bill Belichick did to Tom Shanahan. He must have stole your girl in high school, boy, because you ain't getting off of this beef with him. But listen, no doubt about it, Sean McVay is the common denominator. This guy is just genius. I mean, listen, this guy had Jared Goff, #1 overall draft pick, took him to a Super Bowl, and he let him go just to take, Matt Stafford, out of Detroit and turn this guy's career around. And then you see the coaches who've coached under him. He's the common denominator. He's the new Bill Walsh. He's the new, Belichick. He's that dude. Obviously, he needs more Super Bowls to really add to that list. But, you hear his interviews, you hear his cerebral approach, you hear his appreciation of people. He's definitely, has a new age mentality. And I think he does a great job of understanding what team is. I think he represents the idea of leadership very well. And, his guys respond to his players respond to him. The people under him have nothing but love and respect for him. You don't hear anything crazy about this dude. You know what I mean? And that just tells me that, and I've seen it in his interviews, he's good with people. He values his people. And it's showing, man. And, I like the guy. I do. I like his style. I like his approach. I respect it. His coaching tree is phenomenal. The one that sticks, and the name that sticks out to me is Leanne Cohen in Jacksonville. What he was able to do at Jacksonville, winning 13 games, 8 in a row, historic defense. Trevor Lawrence, had a MVP. Well, he had a season where his name was mentioned, the MVP a couple weeks. But McVay's the real deal. He's so young. You have to think, there's so much more to come with this guy.
Well, here's the thing, Marvin. Tommy and Belichick is one thing. Well, what about Dave Dorn and I hate that, Bonanot sick them over that. Obviously, something happened with Tommy and Bill Belichick that he don't really care for him.
I'll tell you what it is.
It always comes down to a girl, Scott. It always comes down to a girl. I'm telling you.
Hey, girl, this guy's going to get nailed by a gorilla. Me!
I get sick of people saying he's the greatest coach ever when his record doesn't come close to matching up to Vince Lombardi's.
That's
Is he
it.
top Shanahan? Is he top 5? You give him that?
Possible.
You call
I'd
Well,
have to
Dave
think-
Doran is at
I'd have
the
to
bottom
think about
5 on my anger list. All right, so-
Yeah.
all right. It's not that we haven't
Dolan
heard that
ahead of him.
story before.
Oh, Brown ahead of him. And on top of all that, he's just a bad guy.
Yeah, Dave Doran's a bad guy, and you two were on that
A
show. when I
miserable
went
human
ballistic.
being.
Oh, trust me, with that 20-year-old he got, he ain't miserable. Believe me, he's not miserable. He's
Yeah.
everything but miserable. Believe me.
Oh, he brings that one in. All right. All right. Well, don't go too far, Marvin, because we're going to talk about
That's
one
a
wide
family
receiver.
show. I know it's a family show. It's a family
Yeah,
show.
I
I
know.
know.
All right, Candy, you got the last word on this, and it's going to get even more interesting for Powell.
What I would say about Sean McVay is what a true testament to how he coaches, that he's coached so many coaches that are now head coaches. That speaks volumes about the culture that he brings, the fact that he's willing to grow his coaches, not just his players. True leader of men in all sense of the word. And after all, we're benefiting it from him in Green Bay, so it'll be interesting to see how his other. Because let's face it, Matt LaFleur was one of the first ones that left and became a head coach. It'll be interesting to see how successful his tree becomes, because we've talked about other head coaches that have had trees, and some of them weren't successful. Some of them should have been just chopped down right from the beginning. But so we'll see.
All right, let's go to the wide receivers. It's time to talk wide receivers, because one of the best ones that played last year, his name is Malachi Toney. He had 109 catches this season with just one drop, and again 109 catches, 1,211 yards, and 10 touchdowns. Only imagine what his draft status would be. There's old Malachi Toney, as Candy took the shot up there. So let's talk about Tommy. What are your thoughts about Malachi Toney?
This for me. I'm leading off here. Yeah. He's a great player. And Darian Mensah, they spent a lot of money to bring him in. So the sky could be the limit for those two connecting. I don't know what their offensive line situation is. They lost one of their best offensive linemen. I don't know what they got coming back, but that's a dynamic duo there, Toney and Mensah.
Yeah, it sure is. Malachi Toney, what? I mean, that was his first year. Can you imagine how much better he's going to get, Brad?
Yeah, he helped the Hurricanes get to the national championship. I mean, he was one of the reasons why made big plays, in the college football playoff. Fun to watch. And again, he was a freshman. If he does the same thing or more this year, his draft stock's going to go way through the roof. He'll be one of the top wideouts in the NFL.
Marvin?
Yeah. Again, being a true freshman, not a redshirt freshman, but a true freshman who was playing high school football a year ago, to have the kind of impact he had, to have it consistently, to have it in big moments, and to have it, in big games, just speaks to who he is and who he could be as a player. I was happy to see he got a new deal, a new NIL deal apparently after this season, well earned, well deserved.
Right.
You want to see these guys be able to come back and repeat it. It's dealing with success is tough when you're young. And I think, Cristobal has done a good job from what I see of establishing culture and leadership. I like everything Cristobal's doing, to be honest with you. And I'm hoping that he's just, in this kid's head and continue to talk to him about being consistent, because that's what it is. That's what this team requires. It's a certain level of consistency and discipline. So, that's the next step for him. I want to see him emphasize that, deal with his success the right way. But this kid was dynamic. I mean, he was unreal. He was probably, it's safe to say he was probably a top 5 receiver in college football last year. And if he does well, then he could be the next Blitnikoff winner next year, the year after. And we'll see. But he's a phenomenal player. And if he can hold it together, he'll be, without question, a top 10 pick in the NFL draft.
Well, when I knew for Candy, you took a lot of pictures of this guy, and you sat there and sat in a lot of his press conference while I was doing the dirty work on the other side, What are your thoughts about Malachi Toney?
Let's also remember he started the season. He was only 17 years old. He didn't even turn 18 until later in the season. He actually finished the regular season with 84 receptions, 970 yards, 7 receiving touchdowns, along with 17 rushing attempts for 89 yards and 1 touchdown. But the other thing is he also was utilized in the Wildcat packages and trick plays, where he completed 4 of 6 passes for 82 yards and 2 touchdowns. So not only was he a good receiver, ran the ball, but he also could be in there in trick plays. I think the thing that most impressed me is in the game where he had a fumble and it cost them a touchdown, but everybody rallied around him and he came back and scored the winning touchdown. One of the other things I will say is if you listen to the South Florida Tribune, we did an interview, Scott, with Brockemeyer at the Senior Bowl. And one of my questions to him was, what did Malachi mean to the team? And he just said he brought an energy and a cohesiveness with him. And everybody loved Malachi and rallied around him, for being such a young player to have that kind of an impact on a program such as the Hurricanes means he's a great kid. And I was in some of his press conferences. He is a really neat kid.
Yeah, he really is. All right, well, I'll tell you what, we're going to go from one wide receiver to one that Marvin knows all too well, and I did too over at the Senior Bowl. His name is Jacoby Lane. Now, Marvin, you and I got in a little bit of a interesting debate about who the Dolphins have left with the receivers because they're shipping them out right and left. But if the Dolphins have any sense at all, they might look at the guy that Candy's about to put up on the screen. Go ahead, Candy.
Okay, here we go. Share screen.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Motor City Mad Mouse Show. I am joined by UFC wide receiver Jacoby Lane. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me on the show.
Oh, you're very welcome. Well, let's talk about how things have gone here for you at the Senior Bowl.
Yeah, just super blessed to be able to come out here, compete with the best, be around guys from all around the country, learn from the best coaches in the NFL, and just get one foot in the door, kind of get that first little glimpse of the NFL, and just be out here in Mobile, get a new experience, be out here with some dogs, and just work. So.
Let's talk about Amon St. Brown. Is he a guy that you really follow what he's doing with the Detroit Lions?
Yeah, he's a dog. He's always going to be one, and he's been that way since he was at USC, so it's not a surprise.
Describe what your experience is playing at USC. We know about the deep tradition there, and now the fact that you're playing in the Big Ten where you guys get a lot of frequent flyer miles.
Right. Traveling across the country, playing against the best in the nation. I wouldn't want to do it anywhere besides USC. Being able to grow as not only a football player, but as a man as well. It has been a blessing, and it was a blessing. And anybody that goes to USC is going to in for an experience, and that program is on the right trajectory.
Yeah, talk about Lincoln Riley and what it's like to play for him.
Yeah, Coach Link is nothing but a great coach. He's even better for receivers, and I think just development as a whole, he's really, really sound in not just one area, but all areas, making sure we're not just great route runners, great pass catchers, but also great football minds. Being able to have some versatility in all of that is big for him.
What do you bring? What do you offer every NFL team that they should look for a white they should draft here?
Yeah, just super nimble guy that can move, being able to play inside and outside, go catch a jump ball, and also run a curl. I think I have a lot of good traits for my size and ability to move.
And my final question, talk about the USC-UCLA rivalry, and for that matter, are they going to miss Notre Dame?
It's not really a rivalry. It's a one-sided rivalry, and I don't know about the Notre Dame game either. So.
Well, tell me, you're selling USC and UCLA as a one-sided rivalry in favor of you?
Yeah.
Marvin's going to love it. All right, Jacoby, thanks for being on the Motor City Man Mouse Show, and I appreciate the passion you have for the fans signing all these autographs. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
All right, Paul, your dream come true. I got a wide receiver with USC and it stuck the name Marvin in there. All right, so you're going to get first dibs on this. What do you think of this guy as a prospect?
Yeah, Jacoby Lane he's projected to be a mid-second round guy. I wouldn't be shocked if he went late first round. A player who you should look at when you want to compare to Jacoby and he's not there yet, but he's in that Moss Megatron range, meaning his catch radius is tremendous. This guy's highlight film of one-handed catches, beating the receiver vertically, going up with two hands, one hand, is unreal. He's a little bit light, and sometimes when he's running his routes, if you put hands on him, you can move him a little bit. But he's dynamic, man. He's a red zone threat. He's a guy I would expect him to be on the field as a third receiver for some NFL team. He presents tremendous height matchup. I think Jacoby's at like 6'4". He can jump over 40 inches. His speed is what you would want for the NFL level, but his catch radius, he's a guy that catches anything and everything. He was outstanding for USC this year. And, we're going to hate to see him leave. I think in 2 years, I'm going off memory, I think he had like 120 catches, again, check out some of his red zone stuff. If you haven't seen his highlight film, he's phenomenal.
All right, Tommy, your thoughts about Jacoby Lane?
Yeah, he's a great player. I saw a little bit of him. The interesting thing I took from that interview is he sounded so definitive in his thoughts because, now with the NIL money and NFL draft pick money slotted, you got to kind of weigh what you might make and what you're going to be guaranteed with your NIL money. He's just listening to him talk. Sounds like he had mapped that out real well and is confident that he can. He's not going to lose money in the NFL compared to another year of developing in college. Seems like he knows exactly what he wants to do, and he has the talent to do it.
Tom, he's a Trojan. He's confident, baby. Okay, that's how they train him. All right, come on now.
Yeah, you can be overconfident, but he sounded very secure.
Yeah,
that's
he is.
A better word than definitive.
Listen, to give you guys a better perspective on how good he is, 2 years ago, USC had Makai Lemon, who won the Blitnikoff this year, Jacoby Lane. They had Georgia's Zachariah Branch. He was their number one receiver this year. And they had Deuce Robinson, who was the ACC. He was all ACC. They had those four guys. USC ended up keeping Jacoby as a second receiver over Deuce and Zachariah Branch. College football fans, who realize how good Deuce Robinson and Zach were. And Jacoby showed up this year. He was outstanding. I mean, he's going to be a star in the NFL.
All right, Brad.
Yeah, what I liked about the interview is, I'll tell you what, no matter where he plays as a 1, 2, or a 3, that's a future leader. That kid answer questions the right way as a GM for an NFL team. That's the type of guys you want to build your team around. And from my take is, he's going to be a wonderful NFL wide receiver. So. And a leader, a future leader as well.
We call that a dog receiver. And that's exactly what he is. He is a dog receiver for sure.
Hey, Candy, wrap this one up. I want to get to some UFL stuff. Obviously, that's our feature for the night. Will UFL help the NFL football avoid? Candy, you can wrap this topic up, and then we're going to go straight to United Football League.
I'm going to give kudos to both Jacoby Lane and to Scott. Rapid fire questions on the spot, quick. When you're at the Senior Bowl, you got 10 minutes after the practice to ask questions, and he was not the only person Scott talked to in that 10 minutes. So obviously quick, but yeah, Jacoby knew the answers that he wanted to say. He had a good year last year. His 40-yard dash is 4.47, vertical jump 40 inches, broad jump 10 feet 9 inches. He made 11 appearances last year, 49 receptions for 745 yards and 4 touchdowns. So he is definitely on the right trajectory. Now he is only a junior, so we'll see how far, where he goes in the NFL. But kudos to him.
Hey, listen, like I said, Amos St. Brown is a guy that he looks up to, and USC's been known to put out some wide receivers. I mentioned Lynn Swan, I think, played as a Trojan, and once upon a time was their athletic director. USC does put out good receivers, and this guy's going to be the latest to fall in that line. Now, as I mentioned, we're going to talk about United Football League because that's what the title is all about. Want to wait till the end because I had a bunch of things I want to put together all in one shot. Okay, and that's this. The United Football League is going to air games on the NFL Network. Rapid fire, Marvin. How do you like that idea?
That's opportunity for them, opportunity to grow that brand. Spring football has just never really taken off in the NFL. I'm sorry, in America. There have been many attempts of spring football leagues, professional leagues. But, I think really, what it comes down to is these teams don't have the fan bases. The NFL goes back to, the 50s before even the merger. A lot of these teams, that we have today were around, 50 years ago. So they built a fan base and a following, and you follow the team and you follow the players. So they've had a hard time catching on. Hopefully, with the exposure of the NFL Network and football fans who, just missed the game, they can gain some ground. It would be nice to have some type of professional spring league, some kind of feeder into the NFL other than in college, even though college is absolutely that. But yeah, I'm rooting for these guys to succeed. I'm rooting for these players to be successful. It's all opportunity being on the NFL Network.
Candy?
I think this is the first time it's happening, so I think it's really going to help. It wants to gel. It wants to get some of the NFL's market, and obviously they play it, at different times of the year. So football fans, as long as they put a good product on the field, I can see it very much helping the UFL in getting revenue. Obviously, ESPN thought highly of it because, they're putting these games on it. It includes the April 5th Houston Gamblers versus Birmingham Stallions matchup and a Thursday night game on April 16th are the two.
Okay, Brad?
No, I agree. I think it's time. People always say that when the Super Bowl's over in February, there's no football until the draft, and there's obviously from April to August. So if they can get a spring league that people want to get into to keep football alive and keep the football, hardcore football fans, fed enough till the NFL comes back, why not? So all success to them, to the UFL.
Tommy?
Yeah, well, let's remember that the ESPN acquired the NFL Network. So it's a smart move by the ESPN to have the programming, and it shows you how dumb the NFL Network was all these years not to try to give players exposure and their sport exposure. Certainly spring football is not going to hurt the NFL. They've proved they could withstand that a long time ago. And a lot of these teams, maybe they should have the Detroit Lions AAA teams playing the Chicago Bears and the Green Bay Packers AAA teams. Maybe that would generate more interest.
There you go.
But yeah, the spring football has just never caught on, and a lot of time, and they are in the big cities, but then a lot of the other teams aren't in the big cities.
I remember
So
from the UFL back in the early '80s. It was a great league until Donald Trump tried to move it to the spring, and John Bassett, unfortunately, the owner of the Tampa Bay Bandits, was too weak because of cancer. He couldn't save it, but they were on the right track. Unfortunately, it never worked out. All right, well, they'll have a Tagovailoa in it because Talia Tagovailoa signed with the Houston Gamblers to play for Kevin Sumlin. So we go very quick on this because I have a couple more things I want to get to. Plus, I have the Shanahan report as well. So Talia Tagovailoa, been around a little bit, played in Maryland, and he's moved around. So your thoughts about Talia Tagovailoa playing for the Gamblers, Tommy?
Well, it's a good try for him. He's been in the Canadian Football League. Maybe he thinks this is another window of exposure for him.
Right.
I don't know if he's already hit his ceiling. NFL teams have signed him, so hopefully he can take advantage of the situation. But I think he's probably already hit his ceiling.
Brad?
No, I agree with Tom. He's been in the Canadian League. He's now signing here. Maybe get some eyes, and hopefully it goes positive for him and not negative. But I agree with Tom.
Marvin?
Everybody's process is different. Some of these guys get drafted in the first round. Some guys are undrafted free agents like me. Some guys have to do the spring league route and go to Canada and play in those smaller leagues in Europe. It is what it is. The quarterback position is one in which, you develop and you learn every year. You would think that his skill set is getting better every year. I understand Tom's point of hitting the ceiling because typically if you're good, they're going to get you in the NFL. You're going to be there for a couple of years first. But again, everybody's process is different. It would not shock me to see this guy on an NFL roster. I thought coming out of high school he was really good. I thought at Maryland he was good. I didn't know he was in Canada. I don't know how he played last year in Canada, but this is a guy who can really sling it. And I think he's definitely inspired by the success of his older brother. And, again, it wouldn't shock me to see him get some real coaching. Kevin Sumlin is a proven head coach. He coached for Texas A&M. He coached, the wild and crazy Johnny Manziel. So this is a guy who's been around players and understands development. Again, I don't think his story is over. I think this is a young quarterback whose journey is just getting started. I'm not saying he's going to be, Tom Brady, but, he can hold a clipboard, at some point. He could be one of the top 100 quarterbacks in the world and end up holding a clipboard. We'll see.
Candy?
He holds the Big Ten Conference record for most all-time passing yards and holds the Maryland single-season and career school records for both completions and passing yards, as well as a tie for Maryland's single-season touchdown record. He went undrafted. Seattle Seahawks invited him to minicamp to try out in 2024. They did not sign him after camp. Then he went to the Canadian Football League. He played 9 games he spent 9 games on the practice roster before making his professional debut on August 23rd of 2024. He was with the Hamilton Tiger Cats. He was released in 2025 in the first round of cuts at the end of rookie camp. He was announced he signed with the Hamburg Sea Devils. He was released less than a month after he was signed. Then he went to Massachusetts Pirates of the Indoor Football League. He was re-signed with the team that was now rebranded to Orlando Pirates. And then he signed now on March 22nd with the Houston Gamblers of the UFL. So we'll see what he does. He obviously has not had an easy career, and maybe he just hasn't proven himself. Maybe this will be the right fit for him to prolong his career.
Yeah, there's no question this will be the right fit for him. We've always said the United Football League, they play by the NFL at least the same size of the field anyway, so we had a chance to get more reps with some good quality coaching. We'll get to that, the coaching in a minute and the rules. So yeah, I think it's going to be pretty good. I wish him well. 2 more topics I want to get to, and we will get them there even if we exceed the 2-hour mark. Not a big deal if I have to go over that mark by just a couple of minutes. I'm not going to try to, but that's what we're prepared to do to get everything connected to it. Speaking of which, we're going to talk about some of the rules in the United Football League. We'll start off with the kickoff rules, and I'll go over every one of them, and then we can go from there. The kickoff line is actually the ball will be kicked from the 30-yard line. The kickoff team, the 10 remaining players on the kickoff team will line up at the receiving team 45-yard line. The receiving team zone, the receiving team is set up. Zone will stretch from the 40-yard line to the 35-yard line, and must have at least 9 players in that zone. The landing zone will be from the receiving team's 20-yard line to the goal line. The ball must reach the landing zone or it will be spotted at the 40-yard line. Out of bounds, if the ball travels out of bounds, it will be spotted at the 40-yard line. In the touchback spots, there will be 2 touchback spots, the 40-yard line for balls kicked into the end zone and the 20-yard line for balls that hit the landing zone and then enter the end zone. Okay, let's go over this real quickly. Marvin, what are your thoughts about the kickoffs?
Yeah, so it sounds like they're trying to promote offense and forcing the ball to get into that certain zone. If not, you start at the 40. That's a hell of an advantage for the offense. And also, in the kicking game, we've seen them change the rules just because of the safety of the game and the wedge and all that stuff. So this is an organization, a league that's trying to make the game a little more exciting, trying to force a return, which is a good part of the game, trying to give offense a better opportunity to have better position to go out there and score points. They're trying to bring excitement. They're trying to give you a different product, give you something a little bit different. And I can appreciate it, and hopefully it's something that has impact and people want to watch these games and people get excited about a special teams play, which is not one that people. I think people focus on offense and defense when they watch football. I think special teams is when they kind of turn away a little bit. But it's new, it's different. Let's see what happens with it.
All right, Candy.
Yeah, the kicker at the 30-yard line and the coverage team at the 45-yard line encourages returns and minimizes high-speed collisions too. So they're trying to really be more safe, and have the safety of the players in mind. So most people like high offenses unless you're a big defensive person, but a lot of people want to see scoring, and that's what they're trying to gear towards. So more power to them.
Brad?
Absolutely. Special teams is not big in the pro game as much as it is in college. So I think the UFL is doing a good job by bringing special teams that aspect back, making it exciting to watch.
Well, there you go. All right, well, guess what? We go from the kickoff rules to points after a touchdown. You're going to like these too. Maybe the NFL might pick up on some of this. Teams will have 3 scrimmage play options to elect for their point after touchdown attempt plus a 1-point kick option. They have a 1-point conversion kick from the 33-yard line. 2-point conversion, ball placed at the 2-yard line, and a 3-point conversion, the ball is placed at the 8-yard line. Marvin.
Yeah, so I think that again they're trying to promote offense. Putting the ball at the 2 and the 8, giving you a 3-point play. And then when you look at the fact that these extra points, they're not giving me anymore. It used to be like it was an automatic thing, but when the NFL moved it back to the 25, and now we're talking about the 33, I think. I mean, you're not these kickers aren't going to make all these kicks. It's weird. You would think it's automatic, but it's not.
Right.
So now I think teams are going to think about a 3-point play. That's a big deal. That's the game changer, having a 3-point play. So again, they're trying to find new ways to improve the product, give the fans a different experience. I get it. Will the NFL ever adopt that? I don't know.
No, but it's certainly good to put out there on tape, though, isn't it, Marvin?
Yeah.
All right, Candy.
I like it. I like the fact that they can choose what they want to go for, 1, 2, or 3 points. I mean, we've seen a lot of that in the NFL this year that, the extra point isn't a give me like it used to be. So giving them the option, and this would probably help to not have ties because you have the option 1, 2, and 3. It's not just a set. So I like it. Obviously, they want more scoring, so this is one way to do it.
Brad?
No, I agree. The game is better with more offense and more points. Why not?
Tommy?
Yeah, it's an interesting idea. It's going to keep people in their seats for the extra points. It's interesting. A 9-point lead is no longer a 2-score game.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to watch how it plays out.
No question about it. Well, let's keep going. It gets even more interesting because now you have the overtime. You get 3 attempts per team. The teams will alternate attempts from the 5-yard line. If after 3 attempts per team the tie remains, the teams will alternate attempts until a winner is determined. The home team will have the choice to go on offense or defense first, and a coin toss will be implemented in place of the home team's choice. All right, Marvin, I'm going to go back to you again.
Yeah, it kind of goes back to one of the first questions in the show, the overtime rule. They're playing till you have a winner. I get it. But those back and forths can go on forever. And again, you have to start asking yourself, what are you doing to the players? So and I'm not talking about 2, 3 overtimes. I'm talking about like 8, 9, 10 overtimes. And we've seen that kind of stuff more so in college, but it is what it is. That's what they want to do. They want to see you score. They want to keep it exciting. They want to force a winner. They want to make their brand a little bit different from the NFL. I get it.
Candy?
Scott, are you going over the field goal differences or no?
No, not yet. Overtime, 3 attempts per team. I have an order.
Okay. So I get they don't want ties. They want a winner. They want to go back and forth. Shootout. I like it.
Okay. Brad?
Yeah, I like it, and I like what Marvin said too. You risk the health of the players, but I mean, how many times have we watched college football where it's gone to 15 overtimes? I mean, and then here's another thing too. Let's put it this way. You're a fan of this team. You're sitting in the stands, and now you're in the stands for 4 or 5 hours watching football, and you got to be somewhere the next day, or your kids got to go to school or whatever. So that's another thing that can kind of be a little weird about it.
Tommy?
Yeah, it sounds closer to the college game, which is good. It's better than the NFL overtime. But once the college game made you have to go for a 2-point conversion after on the third try, I think it is.
Yeah.
You didn't see those 8 or 9 overtime sessions anymore. So I like it.
Okay. Let's go to 3-point conversions. Okay, because if a team wants to attempt a 3-point conversion, the ball will be placed at the 8-yard line. Okay, we're going to go the same order. I like the order. Marvin?
I'm sorry, Skid, if a team what? Can you repeat that, please?
Yeah, absolutely. 3-point conversion, Marvin. If a team wants to attempt a 3-point conversion, the ball will be placed at the 8-yard line.
Yeah. Just like when you had asked that before, again, it's different, it's unique, it's more exciting, I guess, in real time. And they're trying to give you offense. They're trying to keep it sexy and exciting. I get that. And with a 3-point opportunity, that really changes the dynamics of the game. It changes so much about the game. If the NFL had that, that would be crazy. Probably crazy good though.
Candy?
Yeah, I think it goes for what we've said. They want to be a high-scoring offense. They want that. But to Tom's point before, that means a 9-point lead isn't a 2-score. You could tie it in 1.
Brad?
Yeah, I agree. That it's going to take away big leads away from a chance for a team to get a big lead. It could disappear in 1 score.
Tommy?
Yeah, it's interesting. It'll also give coaches a lot more chances to make the wrong call.
Okay. Next one is receivers only need 1 foot in bounds. I'm all for this one. You see it in college. Why not see it here? I don't know if the NFL will ever do it, but I like this one. All right, so receivers only need 1 foot in bounds. Marvin?
Yeah, I mean, 1 foot it gives you more offense, more opportunity to keep the ball in that possession. They're being less strict with the receiver, making it tougher on the DB. And again, just more offense. Just trying to keep that offense on the field. I get it.
Candy?
Again, like we've been saying, more offense, more scoring. That's what people want, especially someone that maybe isn't a typical fan. They want to see scoring. That's what they want to see. So kudos.
Hey, Brad?
Yeah, I like the 1 foot rule in college. So why not?
Tommy?
Yeah, they've put a lot of thought into these rules. I don't know if it's going to make a difference in overall interest, but they certainly have mapped it out, spent a lot of time mapping it out.
Okay. Well, if they put a lot of thought into these rules, just wait to see the next one, because the tush push has been banned here. Marvin?
Yeah, it was a hot debate for the NFL. I'm all for 3 yards in a cloud of dust. I am. I've kind of evolved to let him do it. And the biggest question now is, let all these great defensive minds figure out how to stop it. It's just another offensive play to me. And it's unfortunate that they banned it. I would think in a league that's promoting offense, they'd want to really just open up the floodgates and let these guys do whatever. but for whatever reason, they felt it's probably more of a safety issue, to be honest with you.
Candy.
That's where I see it coming in as a safety issue. If you keep pushing someone and trying to push somebody, and there's someone on the opposite end pushing the other way, there could just be so many more injuries. So, as much as a lot of people are going to say I'm not for it because the Packers aren't good at it, that has nothing to do with it. I think it really has to do with player safety.
Brad.
Yeah, I like to. I'm a rugby fan, and they did away with scrums that way, so the tush push should be banned.
Tommy.
Yeah, I don't know how that ever became part of football. It's not a football play.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not really crazy about it either. Well, here's another one. No punting inside the 50-yard line. Only exception, teams will be allowed to punt inside the 50 after the 2-minute warning of either half. Marvin?
Force an offense. They want to see it come off the quarterback's hand, not off the kicker's foot.
Candy?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, offense scoring, that's what they're totally going for here.
Brad?
Yeah, offense all the way.
Tommy?
Very, very interesting. Takes out a lot of strategy for the defense to play it safe.
Yeah, I've got one that I really like. Okay, bring in Gus the Mule on this one. Anybody that ever watched that movie, Gus the Mule, this one's definitely appropriate for it because now you got 4-point field goals from 60 yards away or more. Bring back Gus the Mule. People used to go 80. I love it. All right, Marvin. 4-point field goal, 6 yards away.
Yeah, it makes sense. In the NFL, when I was growing up, if you had a 50-yard field goal, that was a big deal. That was a real big deal. You talked about it at school next week. You know what I mean? Did you see that 50-yard field goal? Now, sports science, technology, how these guys train, how they condition their bodies, 50 yards is automatic now, almost. I mean, it's almost like you're expected to hit it. It seems like it's like a long extra point is what it is, and these guys are hitting it. So this is the game evolving. This is the UFL just trying to figure out ways, again, to give the fans a different experience. As Tom had said, I said earlier, it really changes the strategy and how you think about the game from an offensive standpoint. But again, they want to be new, they want to be different, they want to be sexy. They're giving it a shot. I get it.
Candy?
Just call it the Jake Bates rule. Taking long field goals. That's what he did.
I really like that. That was good. Okay. Brad?
Yeah, I absolutely love it. Why not?
Tommy?
Yeah, it might backfire on him if you see too many of those long field goals.
Yeah, big rule. All right, Candy, that was a bullseye on your part, Candy. All right, well, guess what? We have one more topic to go before we go to the Shanahan Report. And now that we've introduced a lot of the rules, we're going to do some of the coaches because and we're going to talk about some of the experience, some of the guys that we have on there. A.J. McCarron's going to get his first ever head coaching job with the Birmingham Stallions. Rick Neuheisel, we know he's been around. He's been with Colorado, Washington, UCLA. Ricky Prohl, St. Louis, Battlehawks. And, of course, we all know that Neuheisel's going to be in Arlington, Dallas, whatever. Ted Ginn Jr. is going to be getting an opportunity for the Columbus, Avatars. Anthony Beck, Orlando. Kevin Sumlin, as I mentioned earlier, the Houston Gamblers. Shannon Harris, the DC Defenders, and Chris Redmond for the Louisville Kings. So, all right, we'll just make this one pretty simple. Tommy, any of these stand out to you?
No. I don't know enough about him. I'm not going to comment.
No problem. That's fair enough. Okay. What about you, Brad?
Anthony Beck, I like him. He was the color guy for Gene Decroft with the Buccaneers. Okay. And they've been talking about how good of a coach he could possibly be. So if anybody on this list that I'm looking for, and being that he is in Orlando, which is the War Night 4, Tampa and Orlando, so I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Okay, that's fair enough. Okay, Marvin?
Happy to see former players excelling and getting opportunities. Ted Ginn Jr. was electric at Ohio State, had a good career. He played for the Dolphins. And then obviously Beck was a New York Jet. I think the person that I'm looking at the most here is probably Neuheisel. Neuheisel, Neuheisel recruited me when he was at Colorado. He was an amazing guy. He had just gotten the job. He came to my house, came to the school, and I just really loved his approach. Just a really good dude. It didn't bother me too much that he played for the Bruins. I was able to get past that. But and then from there, I also root for his son, as crazy as that is, just because his dad was so nice. So, yeah, the name that stands out is Rick Neuheisel. I want to see him do well. He's a good guy, and I want to see good guys win.
Candy?
How about A.J. McCarron? 35 years old. He led Alabama to consecutive national championships back in 2012. He's going to make his coaching debut with the Stallions. He played 2 seasons with the UFL as quarterback of the St. Louis Battlehawks before a major falling out with then Battlehawks coach Anthony Beck. Now Beck is, but I think that A.J. McCarron, making his coaching debut.
And he replaces the legendary Skip Holzer. The one that stands out for me actually in this group is Chris Redmond going to Louisville Kings, because Louisville's really never had much of a pro football history. So I'll be curious to see how Chris does over in an untested professional market. With that said, we do have time for the Shanahan report, and then we'll wrap it up with everybody giving their opportunity to let them know where they go. All right, Tommy, go ahead. Shanahan report.
Yeah, okay. Go to my website, tomshanahan.report. I don't have anything new posted this week because I spent the week covering the Chapel Hill Regional, the NCAA Women's Tournament. North Carolina was playing, and the News and Observer needed some help. And so it was a fun week covering the NCAA tournament here in Chapel Hill.
Well, we love having Tommy on here at least Tuesday night, and in case he comes on Wednesday night and he writes for the South Florida Tribune. Tommy is an MVP in more ways than one. Glad to have him on our network as well. All right, Brad, the new kid on the block. What are your thoughts of your first act here tonight?
I'm still the rookie. I've got some stuff to learn, obviously.
Yeah, but yeah,
but I feel comfortable, and I'll be back next week.
Well, if you're having fun, that's all it's about. So let everybody know one more time how they get a hold of you.
Yeah, the Walker Report is my podcast. We do it every Thursday night, 8 o'clock. We are live on the Walker Report YouTube channel and the Walker Report group page on Facebook. So hit us up, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
So Brad Walker, newest member of Inside the Fiction. All right, Marvin, put it out there for me, my friend.
Hey, Brad, I thought you did a great job today. There you go. Yeah. Yeah, you can catch me on social media, y'all. Marvin on the mic, Marvin Powder Third.
All right, well, Marvin, you did get your 333 yards, so you definitely did well tonight. That was your quota tonight. You got 333 yards. More power to you, Paul. We'll have to see if there's any more fringe benefits to be had down the road, like bringing back your Saturday show when the time comes. But right now, obviously, we're pretty jammed with this one. But we will bring it back probably in the fall or whatever. Great job tonight, Marvin. Proud of you. 333 yards, and you had 3 touchdowns. Great stuff. Okay, Candy, take us the rest of the way.
South Florida Tribune Publishing Company published a book, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by our host, Scott, the Motor City Madmouth Morganroth. Talks about his 40-plus years in the industry and how it has evolved. Old school media versus new school media. Get your copy today. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, and Apple Books. The audiobook is also out wherever you get your audiobook. There's a link on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where there is a plethora of great content, so go check it out. If you like to listen to podcasts, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to advertise or be a guest on the show, you can always email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. Last but not least, if you see the red subscribe button in that lower right-hand corner, that means you have not yet subscribed to us. What are you waiting for? Just click it, like us, share us with all your friends and family, and then turn on your notifications so you're notified every time we go live. Monday nights is baseball night. Tuesday nights is football night. Wednesday night on Sports Exchange. You never know what Scott's got up his bag of tricks, and as well as the Motor City Mad Mall show. Thursday nights is Sports Wrap, which is either hockey or soccer. And then on Fire Up, come on over to the Country Club, as Scott affectionately calls it. We talk a lot of football, but we talk just about anything too. And we have a segment called My Town. So come on over and watch it on Thursday nights. Back to you, Scott.
All right, Earl, thank you very much for your participation in the chat room as well as everybody else that was in here tonight. Great show. I enjoyed this group a lot. Tommy, I know you know how I feel about you. Brad, you get Rookie of the Year because you did a heck of a job for your first act. Marvin, you live up to your expectations week in and week out. What else can I say? You're on this network for a reason because you're damn good. I'm proud of you, Marvin. Keep up the good work, and I know you're very coachable because you keep improving. Candy, thanks again. That does it. Good night, everybody. For Inside the Pigskin.